In this video, we're going to run Windows 2000 inside a Docker container on Linux, and then install Delphi 6.0 on it, released in the year 2001. This is how I use Windows-only software, mostly legacy these days. The magic comes from the GitHub Docker repo, written with a U. It runs a full Windows virtual machine inside Docker using KVM, and it installs Windows completely automatically. You just sit back and watch it happen in your browser. Every Windows release is supported, from Windows 2000 all the way up to Windows 11. Windows Server editions range from 2003 up to Windows Server 2025, as of when this video was made. On Docker Hub, you can see all the available image versions. In this video, we're pinning the image version to 6.03. Keep in mind that you'll need a recent and reasonably powerful machine to work smoothly inside Windows in a container on Linux. You also need to have nested virtualization enabled on your machine. This configuration should be done in your BIOS if your machine supports it. This script recreates the whole environment from scratch. This is our starting point to spin up our container. It exports a few variables that, in normal development environments, will sit in some secrets file or other scripts. Here we define the Docker image version we are going to use. An external port 65006 to be able to connect with VNC to the internal port 8006. An external port 65389 to be able to connect with RDP to the internal port 3389. You can choose whatever number for the external ports, as long as they are not reserved and are not being used by the system or other containers. I like to set them to somewhat bigger values and completely unrelated to the internal ones. In my opinion, every possible layer of security could help. I also define a username and password for the auto-created Windows account. Then it tears down any previous container, wipes the old storage, creates fresh folders for storage, sharing, and OEM files, and finally brings the stack up with Docker Compose up. Keep in mind that this script recreates the container from scratch every time. To retain a previously composed container, you should delete or comment out the line that removes the mounted folder. Now let's take a look at the Docker Compose file. We build from our own little Docker file, passing the image version as defined in our script as an argument. We map the internal ports with our external ones for the built-in web viewer, so we can watch and control Windows from the browser. And an RDP port if you'd rather connect with a remote desktop client like Remina. We mount some volumes. The storage folder keeps the virtual disk persistent. The shared folder is shared between the Linux host and Windows. We'll use that later to get files in. We add two devices, DevKVM for hardware virtualization and DevNetTun for networking. Then we set some environment variables. Version 2K means Windows 2000. We give it 8 GB of RAM, 4 CPU cores, and a 64 GB hard disk. Way more than Windows 2000 ever could dream of. We also provide the username and password for the automatically created Windows account. Now let's see what's in the Docker file. Just 2 lines. It's the Docker Windows image with the version passed in as a build argument. That's it. I like to set up my flow this way so I can potentially always customize my Docker container. And Docker Compose files let me pass in some environment variables through arguments if needed. Time to run the script. The container starts, the image downloads, and the unattended installation kicks off by itself. If we open localhost on port 65006 in the browser, we see Windows 2000 installing itself. No clicking through setup screens, no product key prompts. Et voila, we are at the desktop and already logged in automatically. First thing I'm gonna do is bumping the screen resolution to maximum so we can actually see what we're doing. Now let's feed it some software. Anything I drop into the mounted shared folder on the host shows up inside Windows. So I copy in the Delphi 6 ISO. Windows 2000 can't mount ISO files natively, so we need another classic tool called Daemon Tools. The last version that runs on Windows 2000 was 3.47, so I dropped daemon.exe into the shared folder too. I install Daemon Tools. Mount the Delphi 6 ISO and run the installer. Enter a serial key and follow the wizard. Delphi 6 is now installed. Let's launch it and try it. Drop a single button on the form, double-click it, and write some Hello World code. Hit Run. Then click the button. We now have Delphi 6 from the year 2001 running on Windows 2000 inside a Docker container on Linux. Let me quickly show you an Easter egg hidden in this version of Delphi. If you go to the menu Help, About, then type in Team while holding the Alt key, a Star Wars themed window will pop up, showing all team members involved in the making of this Delphi version.